Good morning, everybody. What is going on? We are talking about going from guesswork to profit, how to structure your salon services. Morning, John. This is going to be a fun topic today, huh?
Maybe.
Well,
It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I missed your ugly face.
well, this is what a topic to come back into. A
Yeah.
lot of stylists review their books and they're trying to figure out. One of the phone calls we get all the time is, I need to set my prices. I need help. I don't know if I'm breaking even. I don't know if it's costing me money. I don't know what am I doing, right? A lot of people have ideas on how they should be making their prices, but not a lot of people know or fully understand where to go about setting their prices. That's what I want to tackle, today. And I know
Okay.
you got a lot of things about this as well too, because it's a topic that you talk about a lot. So we're just going to get right into it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to bring up something that's going to make everybody roll their eyes and go, "Oh God." And me personally, and I know you operate the same way I do. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm working for myself or, I mean, come the end of the day, we're working for ourselves. But if you're working for somebody, or if you're an independent, or if you're a 1099, you've got to have a plan. It's not just put your blow dryer and shears in the station and let's go. Because you always talk about being $100,000 a year hairdresser, right?
Yeah, that six-figure income, man, is so vital.
Okay. So you have to have a plan to get there. I mean, the magical money fairy doesn't show up and just drop money in your pockets, right? So I think the first thing you've got to do is figure out, what do I have to be generating an hour or a half hour to reach my goal, right? And I think the easiest way, at least that I always found of what do I need to generate, is I break it down into what am I making an hour? What am I making? Not what am I charging an hour? What am I making an hour? Because you got to figure out, especially if you're an independent, your cost of product. You got to figure in your rent. You got to figure in all that. If you don't want to do that, then what you have to do is come up with that number of how many dollars do I have to do a day to reach that. And you break it down then into how many hours you're working. You're working 5 hours. You're working 6 hours. You're working 8 hours. I think that's where you really got to start, and then move forward from there, right?
How much bacon an hour do you need to produce? Is the comment we got.
Leave my bacon alone. Is it turkey bacon, or is it regular bacon?
Oh man, regular bacon is the only way to do it. All right. So what a lot of stylists do is, the first mistake that happens is they look to their competition. They see who's doing what in the area, and then they try to base their prices off of who's doing what in the area. I personally think that's kind of dangerous. I don't personally like that at all. Before I go into it, what are your thoughts on that?
I believe it or not, I'm on the other end of that with you. The first thing I did was go online, and I looked at what was around me, saw what they were charging, and kind of average it out, so I knew what a base price in my area is, and then went from there. So I kind of half agree and I half disagree with you, because you got to have a base price somewhere of where it starts out in your area, because each individual community is at a different income level. That's the word I'm looking for. Is at a different income level. I mean, out here in the suburbs, what I'm charging for a full foil is nowhere near what people inside the city of Chicago are paying for a full foil. Or, I mean, there are people that are paying big dollars for a balayage, downtown Chicago, or I'd be sitting here spinning in my chair if I charged that. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Okay, fine. And that is something that a lot of stylists do. It's a very common thing to do. The reason why I personally think it's kind of dangerous, though, is because how do you know what their overhead is? How do you know what their situation is? How do you know how busy they are, how many people they're booking? How do you know, I don't know what your overhead is, what their overhead is. Are you double booking? Are you triple booking? Right? Like, what is there's so many other factors and variables that go into it that you're just not aware of.
Well, I agree with
somebody else's scenario without fully appreciating or understanding what their scenario is.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that observation completely. But I think what you have to do is to get your baseline. You find people that are in kind of like the same situation you are. Okay, like me being in a studio, I looked around at everybody in the studios around me and saw what they were charging, just to make sure that my prices were competitive. And then I factored in, and can I do a shameless plug here? But, also because using all nutrient color, I'm paying the least per application than 90% of the people around me. So actually I'm making money on that end to begin with. But, your expertise comes into it. People are going to pay for your expertise, right? What's inside your head? What's inside my head? What's inside everybody watching's head? All our education, that goes into it too. I just think that I agree with what you said, but getting a baseline that you can build off of, and then to transfer into them profitability. Then you start figuring out what cost per application is, what your overhead is, what you could even factor in, gas to drive to work. I mean, we're all running a business, whether we work for someone or not. That's 6 square feet of your station. That's your business. No one tells you what you're doing inside there. Sally wants highlights, but it's going to ruin her hair, and you talk her into something else. That's your call. That's not your boss's call.
If you go with, all right, then if you're still going with that mentality, right? Yeah. What do you do? Are you matching their prices? Are you going a little above? Are you going a little below? I go a little. I follow what you're saying. It sounds like a very slippery slope to me, man. That can go south real fast.
How do I say this? Not to insult, but I used to think that way, that it was a slippery slope. But your clients, the people that like what you do, are going to find you. And so I always go a little bit above. And at 35 years of experience, 35 years of experience. I mean, you came out of the womb with a bowl in one hand and a brush in the other. I think that just a little above, a notch above. But then, with that being said, and you got to look at both ends of it. With that being said, is if you're going to charge if you're charging a little bit above, you got to give them a little bit above. You got to give that client the experience, and they'll pay you for the experience. And no matter what that may be, from anything from a haircut all the way down to, extensions. You got to be on your game. And especially if you want that goal of that 6-figure income, which most people do. Most stylists want that 6-figure income. It's attainable, but it's being smart. And the biggest thing that you and I deal with, and especially when we talk about this in classes, is, I can't raise my prices. My clients will leave me. Come on. If someone's going going to leave you for $5, $3, $5? Come on.
But it's the reality, because you don't also understand everybody else's situation as well too.
Exactly. And if they're going to leave you, if they're going to leave you, they're going to leave you anyway, one way or another.
That was just the final straw that prompted them to leave.
Exactly.
There were factors that were leading up to it.
Exactly.
So then, how do you actually figure this out? What are some of the research things that you can do? If you're looking at your area, like you're saying, I would just take that to create like a baseline. You know how you say, like, what's the national average?
Right. That's what I do. That's what I did. I averaged out everybody's prices. I took a nice sample. I think it was like 14 or 15 salons, because where I am, we're heavily concentrated. I took all of them, I averaged it out to what the base prices were for everything. And then from there, I figured out, like I said, what my costs were, added that all together. And then, hold on one second. There we go. And then from there, then I knew what I had to cover my costs, what I needed to make hourly. And then, of course, you got to make a profit. You got to make a profit, right? You're not doing this to help your fellow man.
So you got to make a profit, but the things that you have to discover is, what are the services you're going to be providing? Are they going to be bundled together? Or are they going to be a la carte?
See, I'm a firm believer in a la carte.
So, okay. So then timing is really huge for you.
Sure.
This service has to take this long in your book. This service has to take this long in your book. So then you got to look at every 15-minute block in your book. Some people are working on the 30. Some people are working on the 45. Some stylists are working on the hour. So you got to really hammer down and decide which time block are you working within, if you're going to be a la carting or if you're going to be bundling services together,
Well, for each service, I block a time. I had a girl last night. She was a full foil, haircut, and then a blow. Okay. I mean, that was almost 2 hours of my time.
Okay.
Because by the time, but then what how you work. So while her foils were processing, I snuck in another haircut. It's all, then the time management part comes in, because then you have to make a decision. And I think you and I were talking about this yesterday, when we were just goofing off, of timing and really how long do you want to work daily? I mean, like you and I talked about back in the day, when we would be the first ones in and the last ones out, because we wanted our chair in the worst way. But once you become an established stylist, how many hours a day are you working? And now the thing you got to separate that is working and booking are two different things, right? You open your book at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and you want to take your last one at what time? That's your hours. Now, hours in the salon are completely different than...
That's your booking hours.
Your booking hours, correct? Yeah. I mean, because you got to get in early. You got to get set up. I know you set your station up like it's a surgical suite.
Well, now you're talking about that's your working hours, not your booking hours,
Right.
So your actual hours, don't show up 5 minutes before and walk in with your client. You got to get there beforehand and set everything up. When the client leaves, you're not walking out the door with them. You got to sanitize and tear everything down and pack everything back up. So exactly. You may say you're booking and taking clients for 8 hours a day, but you are putting in a 10, 11 hour days,
Exactly. And then you also have to throw into that too, is if you're on your own, if you're not working for a salon owner, if you're on your own, then you also have to do your books, get your ordering together, all of that. And all that plays into what we're talking about. Jeez, sorry guys.
The mentality. Now we're gonna start going into you're all over the place. We got to go before we go into the numbers. I think mentally speaking, where you're not right now, do you want to be a little guy? Do you want to be a mid, or do you want to be a top end? I think having that mindset and that belief matters a lot when you start breaking down these numbers.
Okay.
And it's okay wherever you want to be. If you want to be a small operation and be small time and not charge a lot, then you're just going to have to deal with a lot more overhead. You're going to have to deal with a lot more clients frequency per visit per day. If you want to be a middle grade salon, that's okay too, and charge mid-grade pricing, that's okay too. You're going to deal with an average booking and an average amount. If you're going to be a high end or a top end stylist, you could still do a lot of clients per day and charge big numbers, but you have flexibility to be able to not do as many clients per day. So there's that mentality in there, and then you're going to attract clients based on that mentality. So you got to think about what type of people do you want to deal with. All right.
Right.
We were kind of talking about this earlier, but list out real quick, all not business related, but personal income needs, such as mortgage, insurance, car note. If you have one, if you've purchased a car, right? You got food. Do you have any credit card debt? What am I forgetting? Utilities and stuff.
Utilities. There's so much. I mean, really, if you think about what your monthly bills look like, there's like you said, utilities. There's and then maintenance on your car, maintenance on your house. If or if you rent an apartment, there like you said, insurance, and then there's also and incidentals. And it's not like you just go to work, come home, and close the door, and wait till you have to go back to the salon, and the following morning. You have a life too. You have a spouse. You have kids. You have your expenses are always there.
So then you take all your expenses, and you got a number, and then you just throw another 20% on top of that for Darwin. Or not Darwin, Murphy, for Murphy. Okay, you put the Murphy tax on there, because if something's going to happen, it's going to freaking happen.
Crap happens.
The average, I don't say if this is the average, a lot of hairstylists that I speak to, and I ask them to share their numbers with me, they're pushing about $4,000 a month in expenses, in personal expenses. I'm not talking about the business side of things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if your personal expenses, your monthly budget is about $4,000, by default, right there, you need to bring in $48,000 a year just to break even and cover your personal living expenses. And $4,000 a month budget is a very, very healthy budget. But, you have a couple of kids, like you said, a couple of cars, maintenance, things like that. It adds up real fast. Daycare, school. If you finance your school and you have the student loan thing going on. Loans. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. All right. So in this example, let's just say if your monthly income, but your monthly budget, living expenses is $4,000, you already need to make $48,000 a year. Now, let's go to the business side, like you were talking about earlier, and you got to look at your cost of doing business.
But can I back you up for 1 second?
Sure. Okay.
There's something that's been it's kind of a hot button topic for me, is that most stylists, most of us, don't look to the future. So you also have to add into those monthly expenses, you putting away for your future. Because there isn't a lot of salon now. Bigger salons do have some things available, but you have no retirement savings. You got to do that yourself. Most salons, right? You got to look to the future, and you also you got to save something, guys. Because guess what? If we're sick or something happens, we don't have sick time. We don't have vacation time. We don't get paid vacations. We don't get paid sick time. You don't, and you've got to put away for the future, because I can't tell you how many stylists I know where something happens and they're off for 2 weeks, and then you gotta play catch up. It's you got to put away for the future too, and that needs to be added into that 4,800 number. Okay, all right, I'll shut up now.
No, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. So then now we go into the business side of things. First and foremost, if you're an independent stylist, you have rent. If you are a commission stylist, then you have your split with the salon. So right off the top, there goes a chunk of whatever you're producing behind the chair. Okay. If you're an independent stylist, you have the product, the inventory, the marketing, the insurance, the taxes. If you have a software booking app, you have all of those things. If you're a commission stylist, you are generally speaking responsible for your own tools. The salon may provide you some product. You may get charged product cost. You might get charged client head cost. So there is something that's coming off the top. There's a lot of factors involved. In speaking with the same sample group of stylists that I was talking to, that could be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month. A commission stylist could be potentially spending, let's say on the low end, $500 to $1,000, if they're really keeping up with everything. And because some salons don't provide education, you got to go get your own classes as well too. Okay.
Right.
And then some independent stylists are spending upwards of $1,000 to $2,000 a month, just in the operating costs and the cost of doing business. So there is a lot of factors going on in there. So let's just say on the high end, just to cover everybody and everything involved, right? Your business operating expense is $2,000 a month. Well, then there you go. That's $24,000 a year just to run your business at a minimum. And that's for any other unforeseen things. Okay. So you have $48,000 a year just to live.
Right.
You got another $24,000 a year just to run your business. You're already at what, 72,000? You need
72.
Okay.
Right.
And then you throw in federal, state, and whatever other unforeseen taxes and BS you got to deal with. Throw another, I don't know, $5-10,000 on there for that. Another 30%, because that's pretty much between federal and state. It's about 30-40%, So let's just say 30, because some states are not Illinois and they don't bend you over so hard.
True.
And that's just to break even at a bare minimum. So when I'm always going on and on and on about making $100,000 a year, it's not because I just want to say 6-figure income. It really, to be somewhat comfortable, you need to be making that money. Now, if you have that number, so now you figured out what your personal living expenses are, you have that number. You figured out what your business expenses and operating expenses are every month. You figured out that number. You add those two together. Now you have your total yearly number that you need to be clearing just to break even. If you're smart, like you were saying, you throw a couple of extra bucks on there for retirement in the future and unforeseen stuff. Okay, now you have a number to work with. So now you could break that down backwards.
Right.
How many booking hours are you putting in? Not how many working hours are you putting in? How many booking hours are you putting in? You need to take that booking number. You need to take your total number and you need to divide that down. And then you need to multiply it by 48, I think it is. Well, if there's 52 weeks in a year and you figure you throw off 2 weeks because of holidays and you get sick and
I
you're
see
just
what
not
you're
in the
saying.
mood and you call off, or you go on a, I don't know, some stylists take vacation. I've heard there's this thing called vacation. I don't know. But
Me either.
you throw 2 weeks off for that. And then you throw another 2 weeks off for, it was Halloween. You got to rush. Now, it takes a week to balance your book back out, or,
Right.
it was the Thanksgiving
Right,
rush
so
or the
48.
rush, whatever it was. So you take another week or two off for, fluctuations throughout the year, negative 50 degrees, everybody's canceling their appointment. Yeah. So instead of, you don't have the full 52 weeks a year. So you only have that 48 weeks.
Right. 48. I get that. And then you decide how many hours a week you want to work from that, because then you divide it by that 48. That'll tell you what you should be making weekly. And then you divide that down into how many hours you want to work.
How many booking hours you want to work.
How many booking hours? If you want to do 30 booking hours, then you divide that by 30, and that tells you what you should be generating that hour. An hour.
Now, do you have clients and services that match that? That'll show you the minimum amount of clients you need to do. So if you're only booking, if you're only doing 8 booking hours, then, and if your number comes down to like $130, then all 8 clients that you do that day, you have to charge them a minimum of $130, if not more.
Right.
If you take more clients, then that number goes down. If you work more hours, that number goes down. That's the easiest, quickest, dirtiest way to go about it without, just real quick, just to give you a real quick math. I mean, you could do it on your phone calculator,
Right. And now the other side of that too is yeah, there are going to be those clients that you're not going to hit that target number, but hopefully you can make it up with other clients that you have built tickets out with where you have exceeded that number.
So then you're averaging it. So you're going with averaging out your own book.
Right. But your goal, once again, because it's all about setting goals. It's all about setting goals. Your goal is that solid number every hour. Like you said, 130 or 120, whatever it is, that's your goal. Okay. But you can always keep in the back of your head that you're going to have that client where in that hour you're going to exceed that, or you're going to have Sally Smith who, well, I just need a trim. You know what I mean? And so that's going to drop that down. So, but you have that gauge of that number of this is what I should be generating. And I think the more you pay attention to that, the more successful you're going to be in running the business that is your chair, and like I said, and this doesn't matter whether you're working for someone or you're working for yourself. There's still that bottom line that you've got to get at. Now, my next question to you then is, how do you get to that number?
The mentality comes in to make a huge difference. Do you want to be a low-end salon? Do you want to be a mid-grade salon? Do you want to be a high-end salon or stylist or studio? Whatever your environment is, it doesn't matter. Okay. If you're going to be charging lower numbers, you're going to attract budget clientele. And that's okay. Then you need to make your peace that you're going to have to deal with high volume, high frequency. You're going to get them in, you're going to get them out. That's how you're going to make those numbers. Then you're going to have to get fast, meaning you're not Your mentality is you don't want to spend a lot of time with people. You want to get them in, you want to get them out. I'm not saying the time that you do spend with them is not going to be worthwhile. You're going to put in your effort and everything. But just like a drive-through, there is a Dunkin' Donuts that I go to. And I mean, I'm at the window for all of 10 seconds, maybe 15, 20 if there's no car behind me. The
Right.
owner of that Dunkin' Donuts runs the window, right? That 10-second conversation I have with him, by the time I'm paying, by the time he's handing me the drink and the apple fritter, by the time everything is, the transaction is completed, we are laughing. Like it's 10 seconds that's got about a minute's worth of content pounded into that 10-second interaction with him, It's wild. It's really, really wild. And I have fun with the guy. I look forward to seeing him. That's the point. This guy sees 100 people, 1,000, I don't know however many people he sees a day. It's a freaking drive-through, right? It's the same thing. Like when you see those barbershops, those $5 haircuts, those I forget, like the chain salons.
Right. I get it.
And they've got a waiting list. They got a waiting line. People, there's no appointment. You just walk in, you sit down, they get to you when they get to you, There's nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
So you just need to understand the money is made in frequency. If you're we used to call them mom and pop shops. Now we're just calling them mid-grade salons, your average neighborhood salon. You want to spend a little bit of time with people. You don't want to rush. You want to enjoy yourself. You're booking on the 30. You're booking on the 45. There's nothing wrong with that. You could still book on a 15. You could still book on less. But the people you're going to attract are going to be a little bit more calm. They're not going to be in a rush. So they're going to be willing to spend a little bit more time and get a little bit more pampered. So then they're going to be willing to afford a little bit more budget. Okay, pay attention. I'm not saying some people are cheap and some people are got deep pocketbooks. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mentality. And if you want to position yourself as a higher end salon or a higher end stylist, that's fine too. And if you want to, you could still work in 15, 30-minute blocks and you could still get a lot of people in and charge high prices. You could spend a little bit more time and work slower and take it easy. Or you could build up your book and your service and you can include a lot of things in that time. It is all up to you how you want to put yourself out there and how you want that perceived value to become. There is nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Okay? You're going to attract the clientele that you are putting out there. You're going to get a lot of people in the beginning because they're just interested to try out of curiosity more than anything else. Because they see an advertising more than anything else. Because you're conveniently right down the street more than anything else. Whatever it is, you're going to get people that are going to come to see you. It's retaining the people is where the game comes in.
There it is.
Right? So where does that number fit for the retention of who you're trying to get? That's where your numbers come from. That's how you're building your numbers. And does it match what you need to produce to afford your lifestyle and your income? Are you physically able to do 10 clients a day, 5 clients a day? Are you mentally able to do that many clients a day, even if you're physically not able to or are able to? What is your personality? Do you even want to do like that? Like there's a lot of other factors that come into this as well.
You are 100% correct with that. Yes.
That's how I break down that answer of how I figured it out,
Right.
I, at a minimum, want it to be a 6-figure income. I wanted to make $100,000 a year because that's what everybody talks about a lot. That's what all these financial things are talking about. That's what all these people on the news talk about all the time. I just wanted to see if I could do it. Not for anything else. I didn't want to be left out. It's not the ego, it's the competitiveness in me. I want to prove to myself that I can do it just because I can say I did it.
Right.
Do I want to continue to do it afterwards? Now that I got a taste of it, now that I see how much work it takes to do that and produce that, now the worst part of this conversation comes in is the slog, is getting down in the trenches and doing that day in and day out and continually maintaining being able to do that.
I see, but for a while, I used to use the term grind.
Okay.
And I remember having a conversation with someone who was probably a tier above I was, and I used the term grind, and she looked at me and she went, "This isn't a grind. Do you love what you do?" And I said, "Yeah, I love what I do." She goes, "It's not a grind." She goes, "You're putting the hours in, but a grind to me," and she kind of prefaced it as a grind to her was punching a time clock and standing on an assembly line.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, she said, this is how you're spending your time to make your money. And I went, okay, I like that. And see, I'm very fortunate, and I know you're fortunate too, is I have a good time with my clients. Most of my clients I have a good time with. So it's actually, I'm getting paid to have fun now. And in the beginning, no. In the beginning, it was stressful. Don't you remember? Oh my God, I hope, wait, who was the lady that you took 6 hours to do her highlights?
Oh man, my first paying client was terrible. That was oh gosh. Poor April.
I mean, we all had one. Look, you're not in this business if you don't have one of those, okay? And I still remember driving home completely considering I was going to go to Trainco to learn how to drive the big rigs, because obviously this wasn't for me, that it took me this long to do this person's hair. You know what I mean? And now fast forward and you're cranking out 10 to 12 heads a day, if not more. Some people do that.
Sure.
But I think that the minute that anything becomes work, it loses its fun and profitability for me personally. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but you know what? I love what I do. I get paid to do what I love. And to approach it like a business is the way to go. For me personally, is what do I need to do? Here's my plan. A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D, as far as the business end of this does. Now, as we well know, behind the chair, A does not go to B. A usually goes to N, and then N drops back down to D, and you're all over the road with your client. But you got to get paid for what you do, guys. That's the bottom line.
How many days a week does the average stylist put in, you think?
That's a great question. That is so all over the road now. Back in the day, man, I mean, I remember Sundays and Mondays, the salon was closed. Sundays, no one worked. Mondays, we did trainings, and the salon ran full tilt from Tuesday through Saturday. But now with the advent of the studios, and I mean, the last guy I worked for, the salon was open 7 days a week. I think it all, but how cool. It's really cool that you can work as much or as little as you want in this business.
But throw me again. How many days on average do you think the average?
I'm going to say 5. You
still say 5?
I still say 5 because, and especially the younger people coming up. And if you're younger, I don't mean to offend you, but, you guys are very obsessed with your work-life balance.
Okay. I'm going to go with 4 just because. I'm going to take a day away, and I'm going to give us this magical 3-day weekend, right? So I just did $100,000 divided by 48 weeks. Come up with $2,083 a week.
Okay.
And if you only put in 4 days a week, then your target goal, what you need to achieve, is $525.75 a day.
That's completely doable.
Calculator, that's the math. Okay. So you need to produce $2,083 a week. 4 days a week, you need to produce $525.75 a day. What's the average amount of clients you think a stylist is seeing nowadays? Because in our time coming up, man, we were seeing 15 to 20 clients a day.
I'm going to call it 8 heads.
Booking and triple booking on the 15 freaking minute blocks.
I'm going to call it, if they're not double and triple booking, 8 heads a day.
8 heads a day. All right. So if you see 8 clients a day, and your target goal a day is $520.75, then your average ticket needs to be $65.09 and some change. So your average ticket needs to be $65. Now, is $65 representative of a haircut?
Yeah.
Is it representative of a blow dry?
Ish.
So we're saying ish, so that's a no. Is it representative of a perm?
That's on the cheap side.
So that's a yes. A single process global application?
Yes.
Like a root touch-up?
Yes.
A highlight?
No. Highlights are more expensive and more labor intensive.
So then minimum, yes.
Okay, a minimum, yes.
So then you're covering yes, right?
Yes.
Now, I said haircut by default. I was implying women. What about men's haircut?
No, because in the industry, the men's, industry-wide men's haircuts are cheaper.
Okay,
right?
So men's cut, no. What other services? What other services?
Well, you can get into scalp treatments. You can get into extensions. Or is that a different animal?
All right, so scalp treatment is what?
Indicative of usually about $60.
So that's no. Hair extensions, yes. What other services?
Smoothing treatments, yes.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we just listed off 9 services, of which 6 of the 9 average out to hit that minimum number. So there's your math.
Right.
There's a quick math right there, So
right.
Earlier you were talking about how averaging out services, you look at your book and you say some of the services you do don't cover your spread. Some of the services you do, you make up for it because you charge more. And then you take the average and that equals out. Okay.
Right.
So that right there is just a very quick, within a minute or two, how to come up with, can you produce those numbers?
Right.
And we just did 100,000 based off of 48 weeks. So having 4 weeks a year for personal time for whatever reason, only working 4 days a week, only seeing 8 clients a day. If you could produce $65 per client, you made your 6-figure income.
Boom.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
That's nuts. And basically you're minimizing the whole thing.
I am. I totally am. Now I'm going to do one thing extra here. I'm just going to hop on the Googles.
The interweb.
Yep. The average hair appointment in a salon in the U.S.
It's like 123.
The average cost for a standard salon haircut in the U.S. is approximately $53.
Oh, I thought you meant service price. Okay.
Yeah, I did service price, but this thing, okay, so 50 to 190 is haircut and styling. 65 to 200 is color services. Specialty services, which is, I guess, highlighting, is 148 to 375. Yeah, all right. So, and then you throw in haircuts, smoothing treatments, or not haircuts, perm, smoothing treatments, hair extensions. I mean, those numbers add up real fast.
Doesn't it blow your mind at the actual amount of money that, as a hair professional, is at your fingertips that you could be bringing in?
You mentioned that. Do you notice none of these numbers I have mentioned the word tips at all?
No, you get,
conversation?
Yeah. I've pulled that word back a couple times in this conversation because we're talking about building our business. Tips are a byproduct.
Tip income is not income.
You're going to have people that argue with you about that.
You can argue with me all day. Tip income is not income. Tips,
it's a gift.
Are such a variable. You don't know. You told me there was a stylist. You've seen stylists mark down in their little black book how much the client gives them, and then questions them if they get more or less.
I worked with someone and would mark down what each and every tip was, because we had little envelopes at the front desk where the client could write their name on it and leave it for you if they didn't hand it to you. This person would mark down all their tips, and then when that client would come back in, if say the tip wasn't 15%, or sometimes they would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get my, whatever, this, that, the other thing. I'll be leaving your tip at the front desk," and they don't. This person would actually hold the client's feet to the fire and be like, "Were you not happy last time because you didn't leave me a tip?" Which just blew my mind, because I couldn't tell you who tips me what anymore. I really don't know. People hand me money, I put it in my pocket, or they put it on their credit card on the, I could probably look it up if I wanted to if they ran it through their credit card. But other than that, tips are a gift.
And then have you also realized I haven't mentioned retail sales?
That was next on my agenda.
So this is just your service menus, what you can do yourself.
Correct.
It all starts from your service menus. Okay. We just rattled off basic services. There are so many more extra things you can do. Deep conditioning. You could do massages, head spas. You could do waxing. There's all these little things you can add on to your services, and that'll increase and build your ticket. Okay. Retail sales is such a contested topic to this day, which I still don't even understand, because people are buying retail. There are so many retail products out there nowadays. The clients are willing to purchase something. It's actually in our favor. I hear a lot of stylists tell me, "Oh, I can't even sell retail. There's so much retail. There's so many options and competition out there. I can't." The hell you can't. It's actually to your benefit that there is so many offerings out there, because now the client is inundated and overwhelmed with the amount of choices. They're flooded with the amount of choices. They need you never to help them determine which one of the billion products out there is the right one for them. Okay. What an opportunity for you to create the sales super easy. I'm just going to say just at that, if not for anything else, it all supplements your income.
I will I can honestly tell you, and anybody wants to see it, I will show you. Most of the time, I pay my rent with my retail sales.
It's a powerful tool, and it's something that is needed. I'm not saying go out there and sell for the sake of selling. I'm saying it's something that is needed, again, to help you hit your numbers more than anything else. It's to protect your work, to protect your business, to help complete the experience for your client coming back, and to help them maintain their hair. I mean, you're putting them on a plan, on a regimen.
Right.
You know, you're trying to do good by them. You want to retain that hair.
Right. No, you are 100% correct with that. Retail sales, whether you are an independent or you work for someone else, I always have to preface that because people yell at me. You're only helping the bottom line of everybody with retail sales too. Not only are you giving your clients something they need, those sales, the money from those sales goes to help your bottom line, which then makes you able to take those 2 weeks vacation, or makes you able to, your salon owner to improve things. So it makes it much nicer for you to work. And those are just for instance, you could do a list. I am a big proponent of retail sales. Always have been, always will be. My client takes stuff off the shelf and they're like, oh, and they scan it and they go right to Amazon. And I'm like, how much is it on Amazon? Because that's the next thing we hear in classes. Why are they going to buy it from me? They can buy it on Amazon. I'm like, let me see Amazon. And they'll be like, it's this much. I go, you know what? I'll charge you that much for it. And you get to take it home right now. You don't have to wait for the box to come that'll end up sitting in your front room for 2 weeks before you throw it into the recycling bin. You know what I mean? And Amazon is not that much. If anything, it is maybe $1 cheaper than what we're going to charge them.
I don't know. In some cases these days, it's more expensive. So you got to really do your diligence when you're looking up pricing on stuff.
Well,
right?
But once again, bottom line is, if they have it and they're bringing it up on their phone, just go, I'll charge you what that is. And then you've got the sale. It
is that easy. So now we get the worst question. You're so close. Their prices, like they understand what they need to charge. They go back and evaluate their prices. They're so close to hitting their target. They don't have the ability to add on more services, or they are unwilling to do higher end services. So then the only choice left then is to raise the prices. When and how do you raise your price?
This is such a hot button topic too.
It's what we get. This is what we get hit with all the time.
Here's what we a
whole hour going over all these strategies and all these advices and everything, and then we still get I just did the math alongside with you. I'm unwilling to take any of your advice. I'll just raise my prices. But I'm scared, like you were saying earlier, I'm scared to raise I'm $5-10, away, and I'm scared to raise it that $5-10 or that 10%, 20%, whatever it is. I'll make it easier. I'll make it easier. I love that argument. I'll make it easier. Do you do it incrementally or do you do it all at one shot?
Ideally, I do it usually once every year and a half.
Forever.
I bet that's kind of what it's broken down to be.
So
about a year and a half.
So you're just factoring in inflation and cost of doing business.
4%. You figure it's a 3 to 4% increase for cost of living, right?
Okay.
Okay. And then depending on what the costs of your products are, because everybody lost their mind when with the last election, and all of a sudden the price of everything shot up. Because of tariffs or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand all that. And please, we're not getting into that. But point being is the cost of products, of operating products went up. So I held off for probably about 6 months of raising my prices until I had a conversation with my accountant, and she actually showed it to me, and she goes, "You have to do this." And I wasn't because I was scared of people. I was perfectly good with what was going on. But obviously on the business end, you got to pay the piper. You got to keep the lights on. You got to keep the water flowing, and my mortgage company really likes to get their mortgage payment, on time. And, food, I like food.
Do you?
You've got to. And like we were talking about earlier, you're going to have clients that don't even blink. They're not even going to blink about it, But see, I let everybody know. I let all my clients know. I printed out something really nice, put it on my station about, that the cost of doing business, and there's going to be an across the board X amount price increase. And I only had 3 people that complained. And one of them never came back, and it's obvious she was on the bubble anyway, and this was just the tipping. This just tipped her over, and that's fine. That's going to happen. It's going to happen, and and you can go to the chop shop and get your hair cut, and then when it doesn't blend and you have a shelf in the back, and I see you out in public, I'll giggle. No, I'm kidding. I don't giggle. I just in my head I giggle.
I point and laugh, and then I give you my card and tell you to come back and see me.
Or take a picture of it and put it on my Instagram.
Terrible.
But anyway, guys, Eddie and I could probably do another hour on this whole subject. But here's the deal. I'm just going to reiterate, you have to build yourself a plan. And the more organized you are in that plan, the closer to your goal of 6-figure. Or 6-figure plus is attainable. And you got to be smart with your money too. I got to throw that out there because I know a lot of hairdressers that live on a wing and a prayer. And they're just paying their bills, and they get very caught up in the cash end of things, and they're not looking towards their future. You got to look towards your future too and prepare for it, because you don't know what could happen.
Very true.
And hopefully you guys took some information from us today. A little silliness. Sorry about my brain cramp early on. And we're here. Message us if you have any questions or you want any tips or help or anything. We're here for you. We do through HTB Beauty. Go to htb.beauty.com. We do have classes. We are coming with some business building classes. And a whole bunch of other education coming your way. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. It was good to be back after a little time off. Guys, you know what? It boils down to one thing. It's our favorite saying is make a difference one client at a time.
Have fun. Definitely at htbbeauty.com. March 2nd, we're going to be in Downers Grove. So we're going to be doing some head spa classes. If you want to come out, hang out, spend a day with us, learn some stuff, figure out some things, see us in person, do a meet and greet, more than welcome to. All right. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you all next week.
Bye, guys.
The SFTB podcast was not recorded in front of a live studio audience, so thanks for joining us for today's episode. If our hair topics made you smile, give us a thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll read them while waiting for our caller to process. Share this video with your stylists and friends. It helps us make a difference, one strand at a time. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Because your hair deserves all the latest and greatest tips.